Hello, welcome to another video from Heck's Basement. I have a Bridgeport M head, model 16117. It's on a Browne and Sharp base. It's yelling at me. I spent so much time renovating, refurbishing my LeBlanc lathe that this screamed out at me and said, "Fix me." Based on the age, and my talents, and what I need, I probably cannot fix a bunch of stuff on it. I'm going to try to tighten up the ways a little, but critical importance is that the head, I do not believe, is perpendicular to the table. So today's project is to remove this god-awful vise and hope I don't screw up my back again. And then clean the table, see if I can snug up the ways. The problem that I have is I'm missing a handle down here. I've got a good one here. I've got a nut and bolt in there. Other than that, I think it's okay. Anybody watching, I would dearly love to know if you know any more about an M head than this. I think it puts it before 1954 and after 1938. That's my understanding, but we will see. It's I don't even remember where I picked it up, but I picked it up in the 80s, so it's been a while, and it is heavy. All right, let me set you up in a stand and get going. All right, I'm going to remove the lathe. Remove the vise from its base, or hopefully I will, just so that I can split it up in weight, because it's, as I said, it's heavy. And that's another, so I don't want to screw up my back, so I'm splitting it. But also, this may not be parallel with my x-axis. So I probably have to do a little adjusting on that when I put it back. I have another vise that has two tabs on the base that actually fit into the T-slots. And for some reason I didn't use that. I don't know why. I probably should. It's probably even heavier though. And with this big and heavy of a vise on here, it gets to be difficult. Unfortunately, the vices I have, well, that vise is a little bit smaller. I may actually put it on. This is a god-awful big vise. It's a really nice vise, but it's heavy. I have to see what those are. I think those are 1 16". Now this base has a hole, so you can drop these T-nuts out. And specifically, I don't want to do that. So I'm just put the nuts on top of the washers to hold them together. All right. I guess these really weren't made for this. They're just a little snug. This seems like the Y is a little hard. And I don't know if it's because the adjustment is tight or we have really greasy, slimy ways. But I think that's one of the things to test or check. All right, get some oil. The adjustment for Y is on this side. I'll have to put the light on it to see just how that gets adjusted. I think this piece in the middle just is to protect the screw. Oh, that makes a big difference. Wow. I'm going to use some liquid wrench to clean it. Then I'll oil it. I believe the Browne and Sharp lathe, the Browne and Sharp bed, is a whole lot older. It says 1665 in oil hole, so I'm going to unscrew the oil holes. Keep working this back and forth to get rid of some of this junk on here. Well, I've owned it since the 80s. I didn't even know those holes were there. So that tells you, although I haven't used it very much, it's one of those nice to have but don't use much when you're a hobbyist. Well, I see it dripping out on the bottom. I don't know why there's two screws unless one goes to the back. They don't need to be that tight. Might have a spring in it, or it also is filthy. With a spring in it, I'm going to opt for the filthy. Holy mackerel. Oops. All right, let's put some oil to that. don't want to get hit in the face with that. Wow. Amazing what a little oil does. I don't think the more is better saying is appropriate here. I think you should only put a bare minimum of oil on this. Wow. Okay. Again there, a little more dirt. Alright, with the light under there, I found 2 screws that hold this bar up, and they were slightly snug. But I'm going to take it apart anyway. And clean that adjuster, that bar. There's a name for that tapered bar. I don't know what it is. Ooh. And it doesn't want to come out. Alright, I'm going to finish playing with that, make this carriage, the X, the Y, smooth but not loose, and you'll see me next on another axis. Well, in the last 10 or 15 minutes I learned a few things. This beveled bar that tightens or loosens up the Y travel, I'm used to on most newer machines it being tapered so that you have a screw, and the more you push the bar in, the tighter it gets. This doesn't have that. This simply has 2 screws going straight up through it with shoulders, so you can't tighten them too tight, and then a single lever on the bottom that you take a hand, it's basically a little handle, and you just tighten it. And it seems to be pretty good. And Z-axis, the knee, is essentially the same way, except it's got 2 levers. But the problem with that is, as tight as I make them, I can't keep the knee from traveling up and down. And I may try to take that off and see if I can't get that to get some of the crap off this bar. Maybe it's just all the grease that's on the bar on the back, I mean on the taper, the ways, I guess you'd call it. The second, found the oil hole for that. So 1, 2. The third is that if you center this there's apparently a hole in the middle. There's a plate you have to take off with a hole, and that lubricates, oils the bearing in the middle of the x-axis. So I'm going to do essentially the same thing to these vertical ways as I did to these. I took out the bar that holds the knee on and that tightens the knee. And there are 2 screws like this that go in from the front. They have a shoulder, so you can only tighten them so tight. And then there's supposed to be 2 of these handles with a bolt in the back, and I'm sure that's not the right bolt. But I don't even have another handle, so I have to make do. But first I'm going to clean this, because that's what grips the steel on the back to keep it from going up and down, and it's just way too loose now. I'm at a crossroads now. A few years ago, the x-axis was really loose, and it had to do with broken pieces in the ends. We lost this wheel, but what I ended up doing was putting a thrust bearing in this end. So they got rid of most of the slop, but I can still hear a little click. Not much, but it's the center nut. And the last time I took this apart, it was a pain in the neck, so I don't really relish doing that again. So I think I'm just going to leave that and now proceed with seeing how level this is both ways. I'm going to take some steel wool, I think, to this, clean this up while I'm at it. I already took a file and ran it across the bed, see if there were any high spots, and I didn't really feel any. So I guess nobody's nicked this table. So we'll see. This isn't cleaning off as much as I had hoped. So maybe I'll have to get some 400 grit paper and clean it. It's sticky, which means there's still old grease on here. Well, it's almost time for a new rag here. Well, somebody plowed an end mill in right there. Drilled a hole there. Alright, I'm going to assemble my collection of levels. Let's see what happens. We're back with some levels. So let's move this out approximately in the middle. Shouldn't make any difference. Let's use this fancy new Klein electronic level. See what it thinks. It says 0.0, 0.1, ooh, 0.2, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. 0, 0, 0, 0. Oh, I have a problem going front to back. No, 0.1, 0.6, 0.5, 0. Well, it's pretty close according to this. Let's see what some old contractors' levels do. Well, that looks pretty good that way. Turn it around, better look the same. Pretty close. Close enough for the type of work I do, I can tell you that. If I can't see it in the level, then I'm probably not going to be able to tell any other way. That one looks good both ways. Let's go up to some bigger levels. You want to make sure that your bubble, the middle part, is actually perfectly in line with this edge. So one way of doing that is to turn it end for end, and the bubble better read the same. So that one looks good. Good way to test my levels while I'm at it. Boy, that's right on the money, I think. Those shims haven't gone anywhere. Good. Just a hair towards the front. Now this is supposedly a high precision level. Maybe high precision, but it's off. If I turn it this way, the bubble goes that way. If I turn it this way, the bubble goes that way. It's got a screw for adjustment. I better make sure the bottom the bottom is clean. This end is too high. Wow, something's wrong here. Oh, Phillips. I think I might have to throw this level out. Oh. Sure isn't doing what I expected it to. Alright, we'll bring you back when I finish screwing around with my bubbles. This is one sensitive level. A quarter to an eighth. Maybe an eighth. An eighth of the bubble is outside. So, where the others said, oh yeah, that's really good, this is not saying really good. And it's probably the same all the way across. Well, right there it's almost level. All I have to do is shake it a little, and it, see, this side's got to come up a little. Wow, not much. So the question becomes, how do I make it come up just a little? It also shows the back is a little, well, right here the back is pretty good. A little low. Back's a little low. So it needs another couple of thousandths on this side, and I just don't know if it's worth trying to do that. The question becomes, how do I since this only has one direction, I'm not sure how I would true it up. Alright, so I found a 1-inch socket with a nice bar, and what I'm doing is looking for light interference. I had a different block up, a little bigger, but I actually think the surface wasn't flat that I was testing against. And this one, looking for light interference, and it's pretty close there. And here, pretty close there. It's hard to tell, but it's so close that it is hard to tell, which I guess is a good thing. So it's about as perpendicular as it's going to get. Oh. So now I'll tighten these back up. Oh. Oh. And I think that ends the work I'm doing on this. Well, if it's from the 40s, it's another 80-year-old machine. The base, I suspect the bases are even earlier than that. It's an old Browne and Sharp. It used to be a horizontal miller, it looks like, because that's where the shaft was for the horizontal miller. And it was converted. Apparently Bridgeport sold just the heads, and then they decided to make their own machines top to bottom. So this is apparently before they made their own machines and only sold heads. The M head is in fact early. Apparently they changed to J heads or J2s or whatever, probably in the 50s, late 50s I guess. And before this was something else, a C head or something. So this puts it between like 1940 and 52, I guess. That's as good as anything. So, so at least it's probably 70 years old, if not 80. And for what I do, look, I don't do commercial projects. I need to cut a slit in the steel for mounting an engine to a piece of equipment that I'm rebuilding or something. But this is certainly pretty good for now. All right, well, that's going to be the end of it. Thanks for watching. The old YouTube mantra: like, subscribe, share, dislike. If you dislike it, just let me know in the comments. So thanks a lot. See you on the next one.